Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon for those who are listening from Europe. Very excited to be here this morning in our monthly coffee chat with Nuria Pisan. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name. Good morning, Nuria.
Hi, Julie. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited and grateful to be here with you and Kamal.
Awesome. Awesome. And then obviously Carmel Clark, our coach. Thank you for joining us, Carmel. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. Glad to see you. You're at home, which is great considering everything that's been happening at your end of the world. So I'm really relieved that we're all here today.
Totally. No, I obviously, for those who have seen some of my posts, it's been quite a week for us here in Oregon. Very grateful to have my house still standing, and it's just been obviously, very emotional, just exhausted from the non sleeping. And for those who don't know, Oregon, we just went through a very massive, intense fires, more than 22,000 acres. So, just feeling for our neighbors, for our friends, for nature, for firefighters who come and dedicate their time and life to protect all of this. But excited to be here. Continue to be committed to our mission of Global Women Fresh, of connecting just powerful and amazing women around the world. And what a pleasure to have you here, Noria, today. So usually the way we like to do this is just to have a nice little, coffee conversation. Obviously, on your time of the day, probably will be more of a wine or a martini. uh, but we would love to hear a little bit of your journey. You have an incredible track record of what you've done in the last decade in the produce industry. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing and what you've done so far?
Oh, where do I start? So, if you want me to start in the produce
Nuria,
time,
Nuria, come
Yeah,
closer to the
yeah.
microphone. So just make sure you're close to the
Yeah.
microphone so it picks up. Perfect.
oh, wait.
Yeah, just like a kind of a quick introduction, a brief introduction about, where you are, who you are, and what you've done, so the audience gets to know you a little bit more.
Okay, so I'm living in Hamburg in Germany. I was working I started 23 years ago working with SanLucar, the food brand from Spain. It's the headquarters in Valencia. Before I studied anthropology, something a little bit different. And I've worked in an advertising agency for cars mainly. Yes, and then Stefan Rötzer, the owner of SanLucar, came along and said, "Hey, I'm selling fruits and vegetables, and I would love to build a brand." He came to Hamburg because I was working there in an agency for branding, 360 degrees, so to say, everything. So we built together the brand from the scratch, like corporate identity, the point of sale concept, packaging, communication, everything. Was really nice, and we introduced the brand then in Austria. We started in Austria with the brand. I went every month to Spain, of course, to be there with the team and the headquarters. And yeah, it was really interesting for me, and I felt so much in love with this industry. My first visit, Stefan first sent me to the field of the Usar brothers. They are nearby the headquarters of SanLucar with citrus. And I said, wow, this is amazing here, with the work they did. And I love the people. Till today, I love the growers. Stefan also has a very big love for growers. And I think they're great people dealing with all this nature stuff and climate change and produce, giving so much passion into it. I love the growers, really. And it convinced me that this is the industry I want to work with. And 23 years after, I was still developing the brand. And it was an amazing journey. Well, 9 years in between, I left for maternity leave, so I could raise my daughter to be a strong woman. So that's
Uh-huh.
For me, it was very important to have time for her as well. So I was a passionate mother with like Halloween parties here, at Christmas parties there, and bringing her from tennis to hockey or whatever, like a mom does. So very dedicated. But then Stefan always called, no, here then called me. So when are you going back to work? When do you want to come back? So after 9 years, I said, well, because working for SanLucar always meant to travel a lot, and I didn't want to be always traveling around. Yeah, and that's why I waited till she was 9 years old, and I said, okay, she can stay with her father like 1 week in a month, and they have nice quality time. And I go to Spain and do the work with SanLucar. And so I started to lead the marketing department, consistent also of designers. We did SanLucar is doing the creative work also in-house. Yeah, I don't know if I'm talking too much about
Nice.
me, if
Yeah.
you have some
No,
questions.
no, that's good. That's good. So obviously, so 23 years in the business. Obviously, I think that we all resonate with the story of, the love and passion, and sometimes the love and hate that we have for the produce industry. Like sometimes we want to leave the industry, but the industry brings us back. And a lot of the stories that in the women's stories that we've interviewed, we hear a little bit of that. Like, oh, I had a family, I had kids. I was trying to do something different, but then the opportunity came around and so on. Awesome. Well, Noria, and then I believe now you got your own company, your own marketing agency, and how is that process of becoming your own boss? What do you
I
think of
love it.
that?
I love it,
I
because
love it.
the thing with us, me at least as a woman, is I was always very dependent on men. Although I had my voice and I was always, I'm not afraid. I didn't grow up with much of hierarchies. So I was always saying what I think. It's what my mother taught me from the very beginning on. And also when I was an intern in an advertising agency, I said what I meant. So I wasn't afraid of saying and raising my voice and say what I mean and I think. But I always was very dependent of a boss or my ex-husband or whatsoever. So I said, well, now I want to be like independent and be and do what I really want to do without have to ask here and there. Of course, I'm now working with two brands, and of course, it's always about teamwork to build a brand and to
Hmm.
bring a brand from the farm to the table of the consumer. It's a huge teamwork. It's not one person, what one person can do alone, of course. That's obvious. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I want to be like independent, and I feel really fresh, to start over and to get out of your comfort zone and not sit down there and, oh, I wait till my retirement. I have a good place here. They respect me.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it's nice, and I feel very vivid.
I love that. I'm sure, Carmel, you have some thoughts there about kind of rocking the boat and not leaving in that comfort zone. So as many of you know, Carmel Clark is a Fortune 500 executive coach. We've done a lot of work with her in the last couple of years, probably year and a half, 2 years. What do you think of that, Carmel? Stepping up out of the comfort zone.
Well, I think it's absolutely necessary for any kind of success that we want to be able to see, right? In our professional lives. What I'm interested in is, Noria, you're talking about how you always said what you think, right? And how I'm wondering how you encourage women to say what they think, because I think that's part of pushing outside that comfort zone, right? Like it can be much easier to just stay quiet and not put that out there. But I do find that comes up a lot with the women that I work with across sectors, right? And in fresh produce for sure, that pushing against that, I guess, that invisible feeling of, maybe I won't be received well, or I haven't been received well in the past, or I have been ignored, and what I've said hasn't been picked up in the meeting or at the table. Tell us what you think about that. How would you work with women to help them say what they think?
It's very important, I think, also for my daughter or for everybody, also for men, actually. It's important to say what you're thinking, not to be afraid of. As a leader, I mean, you should create like a safe zone. People feel safe to say their opinion, to not be afraid for consequences maybe you could have if you say your opinion. And what I always did when I was leading the team, we were like in 25 people were on my on my team. It's like to ask them. I always were asking back. So when somebody asked me something, I always were asking back because I wanted to think by themselves and not just to Nuria tell me what I have to do. No, they should do it by themselves and learn to think. So ask them what would you do. So yeah.
I think that's excellent. That's definitely a leadership tool right there, to ask your people directly what they think. So you're encouraging them to engage in the conversation and to feel like it is a safe zone, right? I think that's a very powerful way to say that. How do we as leaders create a safe zone for being able to have that open, innovative conversation and get all the different viewpoints, and not just one or two? And how do we also recognize those people in the room that are holding back or being quiet? How do we encourage them to come forward as well? What are your thoughts about that, Nuria?
Yeah, same, always asking them. Also, I always ask my boss. I mean, if you are asking, also you're kind of leading, because you're giving the direction where to go. And sometimes if you say just to your boss or in a meeting, it should be like that. I mean, people are not so open, but if you ask the right question, you can lead them in the direction and they will think by themselves and then they will come to the same solution. And that's how I did mostly. And also I had luck to have a fantastic team. And in the beginning, not to be honest, I wasn't the best leader in the beginning, and it was like overwhelming for me. I wasn't trained for it, or I wasn't prepared for it. So sometimes I was like a little bit very German. And I was working in an international team and with lots of Spanish guys, and the German way is like very direct, and sometimes it seemed to be rude, but especially in the north of Germany, I'm living here in the north of Germany, so people don't have so much time. It's cold outside, and you go straight to the point. So, and people felt like that. And one day, one of my team came and she told me, Nuria, if you're talking like this, I feel like intimidated, And I said, oh, really? And I was like a little bit shocked because I didn't want them to make them feel bad or intimidated. So that's when.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I think that in our industry, I think that probably the cultural language connection, I'm originally from Colombia, from Latin America. So when we speak Spanish in front of maybe the Spanish people, it's a little bit shocking because, the words are a little bit more direct. So you have a great point there, like understanding culturally, globally, that, hey, languages, cultures are completely different, and approaching that, as you just mentioned, on just telling people how you feel, because I think people in the majority of the times are willing to adjust their behavior, to make sure that people are having great communication.
So I have a question for you, Noria, talking about your process of leadership. You said you weren't necessarily the best leader in the beginning, and part of what you just talked about was, learning those cultural differences and how to manage or work with those cultural differences to make sure that you can really connect with and build rapport and trust with team members and with others that are not the same culture as you, right? But what other challenges did you find in your leadership journey for you developing as a leader?
Oh, wow. Well, first, also another very important point was I was in Germany most of the time, and they were in Spain. I wasn't there always. So also when you say something and you see in the face how the situation is, maybe there's a wildfire, then you say, oh, in this situation, I can't talk about this, But if you are far away, you don't know that. And I was like always lots of workload and always on speed. I love to work a lot. I expected also that they work as much as I do, but I enjoy working, and not everybody's enjoying working like I do so much. You can't expect this. But again, you have to talk to the people, get feedback, and then when you have the feedback, you have to make it valuable. So you say, oh, it's important that you give me that feedback. How can we improve together the situation? How should I react next time? So they, oh, we can talk to Nuria. She will hear us and try to make things better. That was also very important to me and for the team we have been in the end. Yeah.
Yeah. So were there ever situations where you had those kinds of feedback and it felt defensive to you, like, like personal, or you never had that experience?
Well, once I tried a lot of. I love to try things out, and I love learning. That's also why I'm left. Learning for me is everything. Really, is so important. And I make like a circle. I say, let's make a circle all together, and everybody says what they don't like. And this was horrible because this was too much for me, honestly.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Wait.
And I go, oh
You
God.
created a circle and asked for everybody to say what they didn't like. Oh my.
I like that. That's a great idea. Give me some. Yeah, it's like
No.
a inner circle
It
there.
was really hard, honestly.
I bet it was.
But it was nice because
I
people
love the.
saw me then as a human. This was nice because I said, oh, I feel now a little bit, also now I feel bad. And they saw me as a human. It's like a really psychotherapeutic circle. but my team and I, and in the end, we loved each other very much. So it was a little journey. And but you, if it hurts, I mean, you grow with this and you learn with it, and it makes things better normally. You have to get out of your zone. Oh, everything is good, or I'm the boss, I say what, and you have to shut up. That's not the way it will work.
Yeah, I do love changing gears a little bit. I do love the kind of the part of the brief kind of your profile in where you mention people, profit, and planet, which I believe one is kind of a big responsibility for women. Not only being as business leaders and executives, but also I believe that we have this real connection to nature and the planet, and then how do we save it, right? Obviously, for you sitting in Europe, and where obviously we all know in the industry it's a lot more progressive around sustainability, sustainable packaging, working with growers around water rights, et cetera, et cetera. Tell us a little bit on the business side. Nuria, how have you seen the business evolve in the last couple of, in the last 20 years? And what are you optimistic when you work in the produce industry, in the fresh industry? What makes you excited to think, hey, the future of our industry is exciting because of what?
Well, I think there's a difference between Spain and Germany because I was always traveling. So you are talking about Europe, but already in the countries, it's very different. I think that in Spain, the people are even more concerned about nature and sustainability than in Germany. In Germany, they are also concerned, but not so much. And also because the people and the Germans are getting older. And the older are not so much concerned about sustainable packagings, and they don't want to pay more money for it than the younger people. Of course, the younger people are thinking about their future, but as a company, we have a responsibility also because for the future it has to be sustainable. So I think they are great step forwards, and always when there's a problem, they are always coming with solutions. I mean, now the people are saving water. They have like drip irrigation and with AI, and they will find new ways to make things better, and that's so interesting. The other day I heard in Frankfurt there's a river. Frankfurt is a city in Germany, and the river is becoming hotter, and now they're working on to make electricity out of the warm water because of the climate change. The water is becoming warm. This is not a good thing, but now they're turning it into a good thing because they're making electricity, and it will work for the whole city. I mean, that's amazing. And I think
That's awesome. Yeah.
also in agriculture, there are really, really brilliant minds which will think on this type of things. With artificial intelligence is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It would help us a
Mm-hmm.
lot to be
Yeah. Yeah.
to take care of our planet and the environment, because you have now the tools and that will make it much more easy. So I think we have a lot of opportunities.
That's great. I love that. Yeah, no, I think that definitely, especially the AI component, it's going to be very interesting. As you mentioned, labor continues to be a big challenging aspect of our industry, not only in Europe but around the world. Less and less people wanting to work at a farm. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So as many of you know, I mentioned unfortunately last night we are going. Global Women Fresh is going to be canceling our event at Fruit Attraction due to all of the things that are currently happening. But we still have a great relationship with them and we want to support them. Obviously, Fruit Attraction is a big deal in the next month. I'm sure you're going to be there, Nuria. Obviously, you're going to be there because you were one of our panelists. Um, Tell us a little bit about the show. Like, how does obviously our mission of Global Women Fresh? How do we help women to make the most out of uh, connecting in a very mindful way, especially as you have 72 hours to make the most out of it, and people are always running from one place to another. What are some tips of advice that you have for women out there?
Well, I would say make yourself visible. I think this is the most, make your voice heard and make yourself visible. Speak out, don't be shy, self-confidence, share it on LinkedIn, take lots of pictures and share it here and share it there. I mean, that's so important that the women become more visible, because we are always used to be, oh, we are in the second row and the men should be there and we are supporting the men, but no, step out of your zone of the woman closet, so to say, be visible and share your voice and your thoughts, because everybody has lots of nice thoughts and learnings and things to tell. You know, you don't have, even for me, it doesn't matter if it's like an intern or a CEO. I'm listening to everybody because everybody has something to tell and you can learn from everybody. So, and the women especially, but they say often they undervalue themselves. That's a pity. And they shouldn't. They should go out there on the stage and take the stage. Madrid, everybody's there, and wear a red suit or whatever and make themselves visible.
I love that. Carmel, what do you think of that?
Well, I think that's perfect advice because I know when I had my first experience at Fruit Logistica this past year, and I was there with Jess. She had that, bright, beautiful orange suit on, and she said she did it intentionally. She said, "I wore this because every other person that I'm seeing is wearing navy and gray and black and dark blue, navy, gray, and black." And so she said, I am going to stand out, right? This is that idea of being able, she's having the Global Women Fresh conversations like the rest of us, and, wanting people to be able to really connect in. And I think that's a great example of what you're talking about, Noria, is how do we, I remember, Julie, you wore white that one day, right? Like that was really standing out. I had navy and red. I think that you're right on that, Noria, that it's not just enough to meet people, right? We have to, your marketing background, we have to market ourselves. We have to show up with the brand, loud and proud, as you would say. So I think that that's an important thing. I also wonder what you have to say, because, you have to gear up for these events. There's so much happening so fast. How do you find to be the best way to take all of those connections that you make and be able to follow up on all of them in the ways that work the best? What are your tips and tricks for being able to really make the most of all of those connections and build new relationships, or strengthen others that you already have?
I am a big lover of LinkedIn, actually.
You are. I mean, you have more than 21,000 followers, so it's amazing. Share more. How do we grow to that point?
Yeah, and it's really amazing. It changed really my life, to be honest. I mean, I think I'm basically also sitting here because maybe you heard from somebody and I don't know, of course, but you can do the best thing, but if nobody knows it,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Make yourself visible. Go out there, make posts. I have been here in the fruit attraction, and I have spoken to him and then, or whatever, whoever, and we have done something nice together, and that's so important. And yeah, I'm very active on LinkedIn and also with private messages, and it's really amazing. And jobs are coming to me through LinkedIn. It's astonishing. And
Yeah.
I didn't think about it. I started it like, oh, it's funny. And then, wow, I'm really like astonished how it grew. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. So I think that there's two interesting points here. One is, which we've been talking a lot about this in the last two episodes of our coffee chats. We also brought one of our dear colleagues, Ruth, and she talked about your presence in social media and how important it is, and how important it is for women to really feel comfortable with that, right? I think women, we ask ourselves five questions. Do I have the right content? Does it make sense? And then men, of course, they post all kinds of shit and then it works for them. But we're like going through, is it going to make sense? Is the community going to accept it? Is this important enough? So I think that, yeah, having a social media presence in LinkedIn, it is important. And I think that the other point that I wanted to tease out of both of you is this kind of this moment of for Global Women Fresh, and where we're pivoted, right? And where, for the last 5 years, we've talked a lot about networking and how important it is to network, and how in the past for men it's easier, right? Like especially at the shows, either to play golf, go to the bar, make the connection, and then pass the opportunities from man to man. And what we've seen in the last 25 years that I've been in the industry is that, for women, before it was, sometimes they don't necessarily want to play golf, or don't play golf, or don't want to go to the bar, or it's just hard, right? But I feel like the notion right now, it's more for me where I stand is, it's not so much the networking for the sake of the networking, but it's just really creating community and connecting in a very genuine way with people that allows you to really create a relationship. And that relationship is going to open up another relationship. Like in the case of, the board member, Danitza Sanchez, she made the connection with you, Nuria. We had a great conversation, and I was like, "Wow, this is amazing! I've never heard of Nuria before." And now I feel like when we allowed ourselves to have like that, 30, 45 minute genuine conversation, so many things open up. And I think that Carmel and you and I, we've been talking a lot about community, community, community. How do we create that? Any thoughts there, Carmel, on community versus networking?
Well, we enjoy it a lot more, don't we? Like,
Yeah.
I don't like those kind of, surface empty conversations. I really want to get to know people, understand who they are in a bigger way. I've formed so many friendships with people that, have produced so much in, not just in business, but also outside of it worldwide, and how fulfilling that is. And I think we can still do that also with social media, through social media. For me, that's another part of what social media can produce for us, is that ability to stay connected from across great distances. But we have to really come from a place of deep authenticity and vulnerability. We have to be open. We have to be able to show who we are and share ourselves in different ways. And, all of that within the space that, if we were to be able to sit down and have a great conversation, it doesn't have to be super personal, but it can be personal enough, right? And really get to know people. That saying, was it Maya Angelou? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. If I misquoted, I apologize. But I always have loved that and lived by that I would want people to know from the time we spent that I care. Now, I find that to be difficult when you're meeting like, 100 people in a day. How do you really show up with that? I think we can have a quick conversation about that too. But I think, eye contact and presence is a big part of that. Nuria, what about you? How do you take that on?
I'm totally with you. Absolutely. When I'm on a party and there are 50 person, I'm talking with two mostly. I'm staying in the same corner, and stay with two people, and it's really nice. I love. Yeah, I also love to know more about the people. I'm a big asker, as I told you before. Also in person, I love to hear people and what they are saying and to learn from them and their life. It's so interesting. That's why I studied anthropology, actually, because I love to learn about cultures and about people. And of course, LinkedIn is a help to stay connected if we are far away, but also it's important to have this venue, so Madrid Food Attraction or whatever, than to come together physically once in a while. Not always, because we are all over the globe,
Uh-huh.
but you have to. You have to. It's very important to, because to feel the people, not just to see it and to hear them, but
Mhm.
everybody has a circle of energy around them.
Yeah, no, I love that energy, and I'm gonna miss it a lot. Also, Noria, I mean, in reading your background and a little bit of what we've talked in the past, and you kind of came to us and said, well, we would love to be able to help with Global Women Fresh. So we know that there is a passion behind it on connecting women and empowering women. Tell us a little bit more of that. Like, where does that come from? And why are you passionate for helping and connecting women around the world?
Yeah, I'm also in a network here in Germany, which is like focused on that. And last week I have been on an event with a big woman who is like the diversity queen of Germany. She had a keynote. So I'm really into that. It's so important because diverse cultures are thriving much more. Apart from how women feel or men feel or whatever, this is also for the women. It's better, I think, to for her personal feeling and self confidence to move things and not just be the little woman behind the man. So, but also for the society is so important because the decision. I mean, I read a book. I don't know if you know that. I mean, it made me furious. The Invisible Woman. Have you heard about it? Oh wow! I don't know if it's. I think it's an international book, and it's the medicine is tested on men. So
Mm,
my weight is like 20 kilos less than from my partner. So I
mhm.
will take too much medicine, which is bad for my health. Or the
Oh,
cat, just an example, as
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
world
yeah.
is from a view from a man, because men are in the positions where they are saying here in the politic guys, and this is very bad because it's even dangerous for women sometimes because
Yeah.
they're taking wrong decisions. Also, car crash dummies
Hmm.
are based on a man's
Right.
body. And
Yeah.
that leads to 47% higher injuries for women in car crashes because the airbag won't help them as they should. I mean, I can give you like 100 more
Yeah.
examples
We're actually
in this
seeing a
book.
lot of we're seeing a lot of that change here in America as well, especially with the conversation around perimenopause and menopause and how
Yeah,
it
yeah,
has always been kept under the
yeah,
covers. And no one really has talked about the medicine, hasn't done a lot of research about. And now, finally, in the last year, 2 years, I see that all of these figures, political and movies and show stars just really coming out and really kind of, one, talking about, two, pushing the medicine and two, understanding it, but also three, just kind of creating that space for women to talk about it and understanding that that the body changes, that the mind changes, that all of those things are happening, and how do you adapt to the world with depending on what's going on with your body. So I think that that's a very important point.
I want to add to that. I think I'm so glad we're talking about this because it goes back to something we were talking about earlier in our podcast today, about speaking up, right? Saying what you think. And I think when we're, as women, we are very accustomed to the water we've been swimming in, which, as you described, Nuria, has been defined in so many ways by the masculine perspective. And that's not anything against men. It's just a fact that we really need to look at and say what we think. We have to be able to articulate our own experiences. Like, I did not know that prosthetics, like prosthetic limbs and this sort of thing, that making them for women was only something that started to happen in the world in the 1980s. But prosthetics have been around for as long as human beings have been around. Like we have, a history of prosthetics that goes all the way back to, early human forms. And so it's this, kind of this awareness, but how do we change that? How do we actually really bring the positive diversity changes into industries, like fresh produce that we're in? And I really do think it comes back to that, bringing our voice, saying what we think, having our experiences, and giving our experiences the right amount of credit, right? Like if I give my experiences enough credit that I think they're important to be part of the conversation and I speak them into the conversation, then things are going to start to be able to change. People are going to have different perspectives than they did before. We're going to have a conversation about crash test dummies being made after, the bodies of men and not also women or also children, right? Like we have to see the whole picture, not just one picture. And that only happens when we're able to really credit our own experiences and speak that into the conversation and keep speaking it. Don't just say it once, don't just say it twice, but to keep speaking it. And I think to take a page from your book, Nuria, that you also said, being able to ask questions, ask other people for their perspectives, ask other women for their perspectives, draw more of those perspectives in, or men like Patrick, right? Like I love having conversations with Patrick because he just has such a wide perspective on everybody around. So, and I always feel so comfortable with him. If I ask him his perspectives on, something, it seems like he always has a take that is kind of multilateral. Like it's not just a male perspective. It's a perspective from multiple viewpoints, including a more, female identified or female recognizing perspective. So I
And
think
he's
that's
always, yeah. And Nuria, I don't know if you know, but Patrick, the founder of the Produce Network, he's been in the industry for a long time, and I remember him always when we started the Global Women Fresh, he would just come to me and text me and say, "I love it. We need more women in this industry. We need more voices out there." And when he started it with this whole project of the Produce Network, and this whole podcast, he was definitely one of the first ones who said, we definitely have to do this. We have to create this platform for women. So one, we feel very grateful for the partnership that we have created with his company. As we mentioned before, it's kind of incredible what they've done in the last few years, how the reach that they have around the world with the podcast and with all the work that they've done. They're actually going to be in Madrid. So Juanita, which I know she's here and she's listening to this, but it would be great for you guys to connect and explore opportunities and so on. Um, so, as we've talked about, so many things. So women, leadership, managing our audience, community. And as we kind of start getting to the end of our conversation, of our coffee chat here, how do we wrap it up, Noria? What are some of the, I would say, kind of, if you were to give an advice to the younger generation who are joining and are starting in this journey of this career, what are some of the top things that you would advise them on?
Oh, to be open, to learn, to try to learn from the best. Always, yes, to ask for it also. That's so important. So I want to have a training here and a training there, and to to go after what you want, not to expect anybody to bring you something, but to go after. Yeah, that's always very important because everybody's so in his own world and with his own problems. Not often everybody thinking about their next one. So don't be shy. They don't ask. You have to ask in order to, because you have a no if you don't ask. So ask for what you want and go for it.
Yep. Yep.
Love that. What, Noria, what changes do you think are coming as people are going to be heading into fruit attraction? What changes do you think are coming in fresh produce in this next year, next 2 years, from your perspective, from a marketing viewpoint?
A fresh cut, convenience is a huge trend. I mean, we know that already. So it's, and Gen Z is very much, they don't like to cut their pineapple, so they prefer the cut it one. So the convenience thing is thriving, obviously. Very important. They are working on packagings, of course, AI. Today I saw a very funny video about in a supermarket and robot bringing bananas like a salesperson. So I don't know what is coming over there. It was really funny. Like, and this was, do you want to try this banana? It was really funny, this video, because it is talking like a robot, not like a person. So I don't know. I think the AI is a big change maker, game changer, and yeah.
That awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be interesting to see all of that AI and robotics. And Carmel, what about you for, the Center for Transformation, Power Circle? Any nuggets there to let our audience know? I know that there's a lot of things that we're
There
working
are.
on, but just a brief
I was
update
so
on that.
deep dived into our conversation. Yeah, we've had some really wonderful things happening with Power Circle this last month. The conversations, the things that we did were so incredible, and we really focused on getting down into vision. I think probably one of the things, and we're talking women executives here, the thing that was most astonishing for all of us was, as we asked these questions, walking into what is the spark inside that's driving my vision? Can I actually put words to it? That came back as, oh, I don't know, or I can't find it. It used to be there and I can't find it now, or, oh, I'm not sure what it is and I need to go figure that out. There are a lot of assignments given in the Power Circle for our next one coming up in September. It's always the third Thursday in September. Power Circle women can sign up and be a member. You can have membership in Global Women Fresh, but you can go even a step further and actually sign up and be a member of Power Circle as part of how you're able to connect and network with women all over the world and really focus on you. It's an hour a month to be able to just focus on yourself in all the things, whether it's personal or professional, be able to really be open and vulnerable. I think that's one of the things that's been so great with the women who've been participating. They're like, wow, like I just didn't expect to be able to take all the masks off and just be myself and be completely open, be me, all the parts, without any kind of filters on. So I love that. So we'll just be sending out more information on that. I'm glad you brought that up, Julie. I also wanted to say, coming up at Fruit Attraction, definitely everybody, you need to find Noria and get to know her, say hello. Wish we were going to be there to be doing that. You also need to find Juanita and Patrick as well, and take a look at Patrick's shoes. Apparently Patrick's shoes are the thing that stand out when he shows up in the room. So
That's fantastic. And
right.
I want to say to you also, I heard all the other podcasts you already made in preparation, and I love what you're saying. And I had some takeaways too. As I mentioned before, I love to learn, and you're giving great advice. I can imagine that your Power Circle is fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, Nuria, I just want to say thank you. It's been absolutely a pleasure to have gotten to know you a little bit more in the last couple of weeks, months that we've been connected. Excited for our audience to get to know you. Obviously, we will be posting this in LinkedIn. So for those who were not able to join today, then you can re-listen to this. And then we're just hoping that we continue to connect women in a very genuine way. And as people start thinking about fruit attraction, and you're starting to think about opportunities, once again, obviously opportunities around marketing, Noria and her company, and just want to say thank you again to our sponsors, Berry World, Council of Family Farms, IPD, 10 Acre Marketing, Fruit Attraction. We will definitely miss this event. And then, of course, Carmel, thank you for joining us today. And with that, we give everyone their morning back or their afternoon. So thank you, everyone, for
Thank
joining
you,
us today.
everybody. Take care.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.